Among all the stories Jesus ever told, there is one that was never meant to be possible. What happens after the final breath? What lies beyond the line everyone crosses, but no one ever returns from? This time, it's not just another parable about ordinary men. It's a glimpse into eternity. A mirror turned upside down, where life's logic collapses, and true reality begins. No other parable had ever crossed that boundary before. This one tears it open with unsettling precision, revealing what awaits on the other side. And almost imperceptibly, it transforms two men into reflections of destinies already set in motion. Nothing here is exaggerated. No detail is wasted. It doesn't reveal only what is eternal, but what is now. And from this point on, some certainties may begin to feel like threats. By the end of this story, two things might happen. You'll either keep believing you're just a listener, or realize you're being measured by it. He needs no introduction. Silk on the walls, wine in the glass, music in the air. The kind of man who makes the day revolve around himself. Servants cross the courtyard with trained footsteps, quiet, precise. The bread arrives warm. His hands, far too soft for any real work, serve only to decide what excess will come next. But there's one detail that doesn't fit such grandeur: his name is never mentioned. He dines amid laughter and jewels, yet his identity slips across the table like oil. Everything around him bears a mark, a signature, everything except him. He's a sharp face in a portrait with no caption. And that absence, small, almost unnoticeable, starts to feel like a warning. He knows the calendar of feasts, the price of spices, the art of drawing powerful men close. Doors open for him, voices fall silent when he appears. He knows how to measure the exact distance between his shadow and anyone suffering. His cruelty is never declared. He has mastered the quiet discipline of ignoring whatever disturbs his comfort. From the outside, his house looks like a promise fulfilled: tall columns, rare curtains swaying in the wind. The late afternoon light hits the marble floor and sends back a glow that feels almost sacred. The scene seems flawless, the banquets never end, the laughter rehearsed. The rich man's heart insulated. For him, the real world stops at the threshold. Beyond that door lies only dust, rough voices, and endless requests. Inside, the music is loud enough to drown every cry that rises from the gate. The gate, that simple barrier, means everything to him. It draws an invisible line between what exists and what must never exist. He's learned to close it without a sound, to turn the key without looking, to walk without seeing. That quiet skill, repeated like a ritual, shapes something he never notices: the outline of his own soul. When his name goes unspoken, no one questions it. The silence endures. One evening, amid another feast, someone asks about the wine, and they recall the vintner. Someone mentions the fabrics, and they praise the caravan. The master of the table laughs, gestures, and changes the subject. Compliments turn toward the gold, but never toward the man. The light amplifies what he owns, and erases who he is. He doesn't need to raise his voice to be obeyed. He doesn't need to refuse mercy to seem indifferent. His power lies in curating what is allowed to enter his field of sight. His entire life is built like this: a constant filter, a gate always in its place, removing every shadow that might disturb the feast, and slowly, he learns to confuse silence with peace. When he closes his eyes at night, nothing disturbs him. Not the faint noise at the gate, not the scratching at the wood, not the footsteps that will not go away. He shifts his body, pulls the mantle close, and sinks into familiar comfort. By morning, the courtyard is washed clean. The marks are gone. Routine prevails. His conscience floats again, smooth, untouched, on waters he refuses to explore. Time dulls even luxury. The banquets no longer impress. The music demands finer musicians. The silver loses its shine too soon. Pleasure itself needs more effort to feel like pleasure. He believes he controls every rule, and who would dare say otherwise? His schedule is full, his garments flawless, his voice carries the weight of a man who's never heard the word no. His house sits high, as if the land itself had bowed to him. The view stretches to the horizon, but never toward the gate just below. And there, on that threshold, something lingers. A frail presence, quiet, breathing softly. Someone who does not belong in those halls. Someone who, by the hope of mercy, refuses to leave. Inside the walls, his world remains under control. Outside, another world rearranges itself, without his permission. Two realities, running side by side, divided by walls and daily decisions. And in the echo of laughter and rising music, one question hangs like a shadow. What happens when a man dies, and everything that defined him cannot follow? A body rests against the shadow of a wall, knees drawn close, breath shallow. No one asks where he came from. They only know where he is, lying beside the gate of a man without a name. Poor, sick, and unwanted, yet his name is revealed, Lazarus. A simple sound, yet impossible to erase. His name speaks more than his frail body ever could, the one God helps. And whoever hears it cannot help but wonder, what kind of help allows a man's skin to crack, and hunger to devour? The dogs recognize him. They approach without fear, licking his wounds with quiet care. The sight unsettles those who pass by. They feel no pity, only discomfort, because they see the contrast. On the street, raw life shows a compassion that human hands deny. Lazarus does not protest. He has no strength to lift his voice, only enough to exist one more day. His worn, threadbare clothes cannot hold back the cold. The crumbs that fall from the rich man's table seem like banquets from afar. He learns to measure time between one tray and the next, hoping that perhaps a fragment might tumble down. Meanwhile, his stomach aches. The beggar's silence neither accuses nor flatters, it simply remains. Some days the wind pulls stray strands of hair across his forehead, and he's too weak to move them back. Other times, a ray of light rests on his face, revealing a map of wrinkles and decay. He asks, softly, then knocks and insists, but his voice fades before the words can form. So he chooses what he still possesses, his presence. That spot by the gate becomes his bed, his fragile shelter, his final strategy. Whoever enters or leaves must choose, to see him, or to pretend not to. But either way, they must notice him. A child passing by stares too long. The father pulls the child away. The child seems to ask something, but the words are lost. Lazarus notices, and a corner of his mouth tries to form a smile that never quite arrives. Still, it's enough for the image to remain, imprinted in the memory of the one who saw it. The city calls him an inconvenience, but there is a deeper truth, one few dare to admit. Lazarus is a mirror. Not a polished one that flatters the viewer, but one that reflects what's wrong, what's broken. He, motionless, exposes the useless motion of those who rush to hide inside. He, starving, reveals the hunger of those who feed only on themselves. His silence summons back the words the house has forgotten how to speak. Whispers rise among the neighbors. Why does this rich man, who has everything, tolerate such a beggar by his gate? Whatever the reason, it exposes his pride as much as his blindness, both equally visible. Lazarus, in this silent exchange, moves no pieces. He is the piece, still, unmoved, forcing every other to reveal itself. The rich man seems merciful for not driving him away. But only seems, because mercy that never crosses the gate is nothing but theater. At dusk, sunlight glints off the metal latch, tracing a fragile line of gold in the dust. Lazarus watches. It's the closest he ever comes to the entrance. His hand starts to rise, halfway, then falls again. Yet he keeps his eyes fixed on the metal, memorizing a path that may one day open. Toward evening, rain falls. Water runs down the steps, pooling where he wets his lips. A servant hurries past, nearly slips, and curses, covering his nose as if the smell were an offense. Lazarus blinks slowly. As twilight fades, lamps flicker too early inside the house. Outside, after the rain, the beggar struggles to lean back against the stone. His body trembles, on the verge of surrender. He draws one last breath, fixes his gaze on the same spot as always, and holds it. The city moves, laughter grows louder, the music swells, and nothing changes, except for a feeling that thickens in the air, dense and undeniable. Lazarus leans against the gate, even before sunset. The day's heat has begun to fade, yet the ground still burns beneath his bare feet. He no longer has the strength to wait for nightfall, knowing the cold will come heavy, and his body won't endure another sleepless dawn without shelter. The rich man's house stands before him, solid, guarded, unmoved. With every banquet, the aroma drifts through the streets, mingling with dust and the sweat of the hungry. Inside, jars clink. Voices rise, confident, distant, untouched by anything resembling pain. Lazarus looks toward the gate. The bars are tall, and between the ironwork he glimpses flashes of light, perhaps from candles, perhaps from the gold of their cups. A servant crosses the courtyard carrying a tray, sees him kneeling, and looks away. Another draws the curtain, closing off the world into two sides, the inside and the outside. Lazarus draws a deep breath. The air is dry and coarse. He tries to speak, but his throat releases only a rasp. His hand, resting on the iron, slides across sweat and dried blood. For an instant, it seems as though the gate itself moves, not the metal, but the space between two worlds. Inside, the rich man speaks of inheritance. The servants stand motionless, as though a wrong gesture could cost them everything. Outside, the silence is crushing. The sound of dogs pacing the courtyard cuts through the air like a warning. One of them approaches Lazarus, sniffs him, then walks away. A servant watches the animal disappear down the street. Then, looking back toward the gate, he feels as if something were staring back at him. The gate remains closed. Lazarus inches closer. His legs falter, and his body sways. He tries to steady himself, but the world spins. A young servant hesitates. Perhaps it's pity, perhaps fear. He takes a step toward the entrance, but the stern look of an older servant freezes him. Between them, a silence, heavy, uneasy, almost inhuman. The young man steps closer to the gate, then pulls back. He looks at the body lying there, and for the first time, he isn't sure he hears Lazarus breathe. The house is nearly empty, and the great hall lies silent. The guests have gone. Servants collect the last pieces of silverware. The rich man remains at the table, surrounded by the remnants of a feast that has lost its splendor. There is no trace of worry on his face, no sign of weariness. He merely surveys the room, the flicker of the lamps, the last sip of wine left in the cup. The music and laughter that once filled the air have dissolved into silence. A dry sound comes from the gate, nothing loud, nothing urgent, but enough to fracture the night's stillness. The rich man lifts his chin, irritated by the smallest disturbance. With a short gesture, He orders the nearest servant to go and see what happened. The young man nods and crosses the courtyard with cautious steps. The flame of his lamp trembles slightly. Instinct takes over the rest of the walk. When he reaches the gate, he raises the light. Lazarus lies on the ground, pressed against the iron bars, his body bent at an unnatural angle, skin drawn tight over bone. The servant calls his name once, then again, without raising his voice. No answer. He kneels, leans close, listens for breath, counts silently. The rhythm is faint and uneven. He counts again. The pauses grow longer. Inside, the rich man lifts the cup to his lips, but the throat refuses the drink. He lowers it, tests the air. His own breathing comes ragged, disobedient. He straightens his posture, tightens his belt, tries to steady his legs. The body resists. He braces his hand on the table, calculating his next move, and calls for his servant in the same tone as always. The voice comes out smaller than he expects. At the gate, the young man tries to raise Lazarus by the shoulders. The weight deceives him, little flesh, much stiffness. The beggar's eyes open for a fleeting moment, then close again. The servant repeats his name, brings the lamp closer to his face, watches the mouth part slightly, and listens again for breath. Now each gasp comes shorter, each one farther apart. He considers running to the master, but decides to wait one more cycle, just to be certain of what he'll have to say. The rich man takes one step, barely, and another, with pain. His hand clutches at his chest, trapping air halfway in. Sweat beads on his forehead without warning. He tries to recover his posture, fails. The cup slips from his fingers and strikes the marble floor, its crack echoing through the hall. Wine spreads in a crooked line across the stone, seeping into the edge of the fine carpet. He opens his mouth to call again, but the sound breaks off, raw and incomplete. At the gate, the servant understands he can delay no longer. He lays Lazarus' body down gently and rises to run. 3 steps forward, then, reflexively, he looks back. The beggar's chest no longer moves with the same rhythm. The young man hesitates, torn between what he must confirm and what he must report. He chooses to run toward the house. As he enters the courtyard, something feels changed, though no one has touched a thing. The master's chair sits askew. The cup lies shattered in a half-circle. The tablecloth hangs unevenly from the edge. The rich man stands halfway between motion and collapse, one knee pressed to the chair, a hand clawed into the wood. The servant hurries forward, calls him by title, but no reply. He grips the man's arm, firmly. The body yields slightly. He studies the face, the color of the lips, the hollowed stare. The master's breathing comes in shallow waves. The rich man whispers an order, his voice cracked and faint. "Close the gate." The servant lifts his head, thinking of the gate. He measures the distance, to the kitchen, to the steward's quarters, to the street. He decides on his own, runs back to the gate, to confirm what must be said. Out of breath, he kneels, presses his ear once more to Lazarus' chest. Nothing. He watches for movement, for 5 long seconds. Nothing. He turns at once toward the house. Down the corridor, something heavy scrapes across the marble, followed by a dull impact. He reaches the hall just in time to see his master's body tilt and fall, the arm grazing the table, the fingers still grasping for air. He tries to catch him, but only softens the fall. He lays him flat, lifts the chin, places his hand against the chest, searching for breath. It rises faintly, then barely at all. The servant shouts for help. A door slams in the distance, footsteps rush, confused and quick. 2 men arrive, one fetching water, the other clearing a space. The first looks at his lord's face and says nothing. The second raises his hands, waiting for a command that never comes. The gate, the young man gasps, "Lazarus." No one answers. The only sound in the hall is the house itself, wood settling, lamps sputtering, wine still tracing its path along the carpet's edge. The servant presses again upon the master's chest, counting until he loses track. He stops, listens, repeats, no response. He rises, mind split in 2 halves, what remains inside, and what lies outside. He calls for the steward, orders the windows closed, tells someone to bring a shroud to the gate, then lowers his eyes again to the man on the floor. The face hasn't changed since the last call. In the courtyard, the wind turns, carrying the scent of the street. At the gate, nothing moves. The servant stands between the 2 places, longer than he means to. Then he does what must be done, signals the others without words, points to the master's body, then to the entrance, and begins the preparations, quietly, methodically. 2 servants move toward the gate, carrying the folded shroud. The young man remains in the hall, motionless for 1 second more, as if etching the scene into his mind to retell it precisely. The floor feels cold beneath his feet. The wine draws a dark trail toward his master's heel. He inhales, steadies his pulse, and readies the words he'll have to speak when the others return. Neither his master nor Lazarus, on either side of the gate, answers anymore. The rich man opens his eyes, and does not know where he is. He lies motionless until something inside him stirs awake. The hall is gone. He tries to breathe, but the air scratches like rust and smoke. His throat is dry, heavy with the taste of metal and ash. For a brief moment, he thinks he's still home, that the darkness is just the lamps burning out. But there is no ceiling, no walls, no sound that belongs to the world he knew. He tries to move, but his body resists. The marble beneath his feet is gone. In its place, a living surface, hot, trembling, pulling him down each time he tries to stand. The ground itself seems alive, pulsing with a tormenting heat that contracts and expands, breathing like some terrible creature. The light is red, misshapen, seeping through slow-shifting cracks, oozing a molten glow too painful to watch for long. He tries to rise, and the act demands something more than strength, something almost inhuman. Every muscle trembles. The air burns inside his nostrils. He calls out, but no servant comes. No one answers. He calls again, louder this time, and the echo throws back his own voice, warped and distant, as if mocking him. He looks down at his hands. The rings are still there, but the gold has dulled, covered in a soot that will not fade. His eyes sting. His mind strains to reason, but everything feels displaced, as though reality itself has melted apart. He tries to remember the last thing he saw, the hall, the wine, the servant, the gate, and then, like a memory reconstructed in the void, he sees the body. Still, rigid. The hardened expression, himself. A new fear pierces through him. He wants to deny what he sees, but the scorching air lashes against his skin, forcing truth upon him like punishment. He steps back, yet the space seems to close in, folding around him without logic or mercy. He searches for limits, for edges, for something that tells him which way is forward. And then he sees it, a light, steady, unreachable. Its brilliance forces him to squint. When vision returns, he beholds something naturally impossible. A figure rests peacefully, reclined. Another stands beside him, still, unwavering, whose very presence holds the universe in its place. He recognizes the first instantly. The lean, Bright face, skin renewed, no wounds, no weakness. And the memory of the name cuts through him like a blade of fire. Lazarus. Beside him stands another, ancient, yet radiant. Unknown to him, yet unmistakable. The patriarch from whom his bloodline descended. Abraham. Despair tears through the man's pride, but he refuses to yield. He straightens his body with effort and lifts his chin, reclaiming his old posture of command. The pain that sears his chest does not humble him. Even here, where nothing belongs to him, the instinct of authority survives. He fixes his eyes on Abraham, sensing in him a power he cannot fully grasp, yet somehow still believes he can reason with. With the arrogance of habit, he tries to negotiate. His voice comes out rough, yet still carries the tone of command he once used on his servants. "Father Abraham, have mercy on me." He pauses, breathes with effort, then presses on. "Send Lazarus to dip the tip of his finger in water and cool my tongue, for I am in agony in this fire." The request sounds less like a plea than a command. The rich man does not ask, he delegates. He calls Lazarus by name without looking at him, still seeing him as a servant, someone to be sent. Abraham remains silent for a moment. Lazarus does not move. Time itself seems suspended between the demand and the reply. The rich man waits, certain that he will be obeyed. He has never known any other outcome. Then Abraham speaks. His voice is deep, deliberate, without anger, carrying the gravity of an eternal truth. "Son," he says, "remember that in your lifetime you received your good things, while Lazarus received bad things. But now he is comforted here, and you are in torment." The words do not fade. They hover, sinking into his thoughts, impossible to escape. He tries to speak, but pride still rules his tongue. His jaw tightens. He searches for a defense, an excuse, a reason. Nothing comes. The silence of Lazarus torments him more than the flames around him. Gathering the last fragments of strength, he speaks again, hesitant for the first time. "Then I beg you, Father, send Lazarus to my father's house. I have 5 brothers. Let him warn them, so that they will not also come to this place of torment." Abraham studies him. When he finally answers, his tone is calm, disarming in its simplicity. "They have Moses and the prophets, let them listen to them." The rich man trembles. For the first time, despair becomes real. Driven by one last desperate thought, he insists. "No, Father Abraham, but if someone from the dead goes to them, they will repent." The light around Abraham grows stronger, and his voice carries a finality that breaks all argument. "If they do not listen to Moses and the prophets, they will not be convinced even if someone rises from the dead." Silence returns, absolute, immovable. The rich man lowers his eyes, and for the first time he understands. The chasm between him and Lazarus was not created here. He built it himself, with every feast, every order, every indulgence. With every day he ignored the man lying at his gate. Everything he once dismissed now surrounds him. The heat climbs. The air loses its last trace of life. Abraham and Lazarus remain still, untouched, unshaken. And the rich man, trapped in his own verdict, lives the terror of a command that will never again be obeyed. The weight of Abraham's reply is absolute. The rich man can still hear the words echoing within him, now repeated by his own conscience. "Remember, in your lifetime you received good things." The phrase expands like a verdict, growing until it fills every corner of his being. He tries to speak, but his throat will not respond. The air that once burned now presses down on him like a weight. Every memory returns with piercing clarity, the banquets, the laughter, the servants hurrying to obey, the gate always shut, the motionless shadow of the man outside. There are no new scenes, only the repetition of everything he had so carefully avoided. The torment does not come from the flames, but from remembrance itself, painful and inescapable. There are no whips, no outward punishments, only the unveiling of all he chose not to see. It is as if eternity had turned into a vast mirror surrounding him on every side, forcing him to face, at last, who he truly is. Abraham remains still, calm, patient, and without anger. He needs to say nothing. The truth stands before the man, clear and undeniable, and there is no one who can divert it. The rich man understands, too late, that hell is not a sudden punishment nor an arbitrary sentence, it is the natural continuation of one's own choices. The soul is shaped by habit, and his, folded inward for so long, no longer knew how to bend in repentance. At last, he realizes that the chasm before him was never created there, it was only revealed. The rich man remains standing, though his body no longer obeys him. It feels like being conscious inside a dream without end. The heat closes in, the air grows heavy, and even the sound of his own breathing becomes unbearable. Abraham's presence stands before him, steady, serene, incorruptible. Lazarus is beside him, untouched, as if he had never known pain. Flooded with recent memories, the man tries to speak, but his words break apart in fragments. "Father Abraham," he says, and for a brief moment, he seems restrained, almost reverent, but soon arrogance shatters his fear. "Send Lazarus. Let him go. Let him warn them." Even disguised as a plea, his request still sounds like a command. He is not begging, he is instructing. Not even hell has stripped from him the instinct to dictate. Abraham does not move. No sign of anger, no visible judgment. When he finally speaks, his voice carries the calm weight of something that has always been true. "They have Moses and the prophets, let them listen to them." The rich man stirs. The answer is too simple, too direct, too unacceptable. "No, Father Abraham," he protests, his voice trembling with the defiance of one who still believes he can overturn a law. "They won't understand, but if someone from the dead goes to them, they will repent." The silence that follows is absolute. Even the fire seems to hold its breath. Abraham watches him for a moment that feels endless, then speaks again, unhurried, exact. "If they do not listen to Moses and the prophets, they will not be convinced, even if someone rises from the dead." The rich man feels the weight of every word, yet fails to realize that Abraham is no longer speaking only of him. He speaks of what is to come, of Christ himself, of his resurrection, and of the many who, even when faced with it, will still choose to deny. The revelation strikes too late. The chasm is not only between him and Lazarus, it is between faith and unbelief, between hearing and ignoring, between living and pretending to care. He tries to speak once more, but no voice remains. Abraham and Lazarus begin to drift away, carrying with them the last trace of light. The distance between their worlds solidifies, slowly, irreversibly. The fire swells again, and the air tightens around him, smothering every last fragment of clarity. And when the final glimmer of light disappears, one certainty replaces the fear. Eternity does not change anyone, it only reveals what each one has always been. The fire has gone out, and with it, the memory of a man who had been dead long before he ceased to exist. The story ends with an unsettling echo. It was never about two men. The world is being warned, but chooses not to listen. This is not a tale of social contrast, nor a sermon about wealth and poverty. It is a diagnosis of our spiritual perception, or the lack of it. It speaks of the slow construction of an abyss, dug not by great sins but by small indifferences, by doors we should have opened but chose to lock, by names we should have remembered but preferred to forget. Lazarus is not a secondary character, he is the measure by which we discover whether we still recognize a name other than our own. the rich man did not awaken to a sudden punishment, but to the inevitable continuation of his own conduct, now immersed in a reality perfectly consistent with his desires. He woke up in the place he had always been, only without the illusion of appearances. He and Lazarus stand at the two ends of the same boundary. The separation between them was not decided after death, it was established in life. Everything he once despised now defines him. His torment is not the fire, it is the awareness that intensifies it. It is the weight of finally understanding what he refused to see. Hell, after all, is not merely the destination of eternal loss, it is the magnified image of everything we chose not to do to help others live with dignity. It is the widening of every act of neglect toward those within our reach. In this episode, we see Abraham calmly reminding the man that, during his lifetime, he received what was good, and we see, exposed without disguise, the face of one who still tries to control his own fate, commanding Lazarus to cool his tongue to ease his pain, or to go warn his family to bring him some comfort for his guilt. Even now, he gives orders. Even now, he believes he can manipulate outcomes for his benefit. His pride remains untouched. Abraham answers with perfect sobriety and clarity. His brothers have Moses and the prophets, they must listen to them. It is the hardest reminder, and the fairest one, for the rich man and for us. Everything we need has already been said. No miracle can replace the choice to listen. Once again rejecting the truth, the rich man receives from Abraham the most explosive sentence ever spoken. If they do not listen to Moses and the prophets, they will not be convinced even if someone rises from the dead. The parable closes, and in that moment, Jesus unveils its true meaning. He himself will be the one who rises, and still, many will refuse to believe. The terror of this story is not the hell it describes, but the repetition of it during life, every time we pretend not to understand, not to see, not to believe. Every time comfort devours compassion, and deliberate choices pile up in a series of small, seemingly harmless decisions that become spiritually dangerous. This parable is a warning disguised as a story, a reminder that spiritual blindness is the most lethal form of comfort. Yet within the warning lies a way out. The warning, not even miracles guarantee change. Jesus foresaw this when he said that even if someone rose from the dead, many would still choose to ignore. The way out, we are still living before that final moment. While there is breath, there is hope. To listen to Moses and the prophets today means more than reading. It means allowing the word to straighten the soul, to reorder priorities, and to reopen the gates we have closed. The final judgment has not yet come, but it begins with the choices we make now. What do you choose to see, and what do you still choose to ignore? Eternity does not begin after death, it only becomes visible then. Our destiny is not decided at the moment of judgment, but in the countless moments when we could have done something beyond ourselves, and did not. Perhaps the most honest question to ask now is not how did this story make me feel, but who is standing outside my gate today? If this story reached you in any way, take 3 simple and tangible steps. First, choose someone special and share this video with them today. Second, tell us in the comments how this story spoke to you. Your experience is part of the message we want to spread. And finally, subscribe to the channel and join us as we continue exploring other biblical stories that come alive in new, immersive ways. Each story we tell here is a living reminder that the Word of God still speaks, still reaches, and still awakens. And remember, not even hell is stronger than grace.